That is a fantastic intro.
Yes, very exciting.
That's the new one.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Someone
We're ready now.
remind me, please, what we're talking about today, because I was so focused on the intro, so I've forgotten. Well,
Pamela, you want to take it?
Sure. We are discussing this morning the importance of ISO, common questions and answers that revolve around ISO, such as who should get certified, what size of company should get certified, and how this pertains to from the smallest to the largest of companies. So with that in mind, Maria, do you want to go ahead and take it over?
Yeah, indeed. Why not, first of all, saying hi to Anthony?
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, Anthony.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
Starting
Can
without
you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
all good. Thank you. So shall we first of all tell people what does ISO stand for? So ISO stands for the International Organization for Standardization. And the ISO is an independent, non-governmental international organization. So through its members, it brings together experts to share knowledge and develop voluntarily consensus-based, market-relevant international standards. So these standards support innovation, these standards provide solutions to global changes. And on top of that, these standards, management standards, have a huge benefit. They can be externally certified. So we'll be talking about how important certification is, and mostly
And the role of independent certification in the process.
Exactly.
Correct?
Exactly, Jay, because many organizations kind of never think about these independent methods they can use if they need it.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Yep. So, Pamela, in your experience, how do organizations approach certification?
Well, I always say it's a two-step process, and that unless you've been through the process, it may be some big, scary, unknown, daunting task. And I say it's not that at all. The two steps are the first step, you work with one of our ISO certified assessors that are certified with a specific code that it most fits your needs in your company at that time. Could be 9001, 14001, 45001, 27001. But the first step is working with our assessor. And the very first step in that first step is a gap analysis. And in that meeting, our assessor will be able to identify where they have gaps in their process and processes. So from that appointment, then our assessor will start pulling documents and procedures and processes that they need to implement into their process for that specific ISO code and those clauses that go along with that code, ultimately ending up with a procedure manual that doesn't need to be 2,000 pages for your organization. And then the second step is that you will have a certification audit based on that procedure manual and their process on that day. And that's where the certificate comes.
Absolutely. That's a very interesting starting point, basically to make sure that we first explain the implementation stage, and then we'll be talking about the certification as well, because operating an ISO compliant management system consists in doing two things. First, implementing it, and then certifying it. So have you are you usually asked, sorry, about how big a company must be to go through this process, guys?
It can be a one-person shop in your garage, and as large as the largest companies in the world, anywhere in between.
I usually, so Jay, kind of going on that, I usually use the two examples because I have had the pleasure of working with a gentleman who was in fact a guy in his basement who knocked down some walls and had the machinery in order to fill orders for basically a part that went into aircraft. So
okay, good.
of course, had to be ISO certified.
Yes.
And it was one guy, but he had a need, and that's really what it comes down to. Whether you're one person or whether you're 1,000. I've also worked with companies much larger. That it's the beauty of what we do is that it's agnostic in terms of whether you have one person or 1,000.
Well, and this was explained to me by one of our amazing consultants that do the ISO work for us a number of years back. I was talking to a prospective client, and they're like, "Well, we're going to be moving into a bigger facility, and we're going to be growing. So I don't know if it's the right time to start this project." And he said, "No. This is the exact time you want to when you're small, because you get everything in place, right? You don't want to move, grow, put everything in place, and then have ISO come in and the consultants come and say, well, you got to change this and this and this and this and this. You want everything in place first with an eye towards the future. And that it's much more efficient. Yeah.
So I totally agree. And just to end that point, I've sat in on a couple of gap analysis and actually have had, the auditor let them know, hey, we're starting from scratch. Great. Because that lets us actually tailor your procedures to the ISO standard, and we're not fighting against, something you've already been doing for the past 5 years or something.
Right.
Like that. So you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, it ensures sustainable growth within the organization and continual improvement and best practice always into place. So yeah, organizations should grow with their ISO systems together. So this is the beautiful side of what we do. You're right, guys. So yeah, the implementation process is very important, and then it comes that we get to that stage where we'd like to certify what we've done. We need to assess it, and then we have this opportunity. Mainly, if we're not be quite a large organization, to go with the independent methods, with an independent third party. So it's quite nice to think of this opportunity. And we always suggest to customers to have it in mind. Why? Because it's a nice procedure. Independent bodies are well prepared, most of them, and work very well. Most of those organizations are truly professional, very quick, and assure some additional tailored care to small organizations. What is your experience with independent certifications, guys?
Wonderful.
Yeah. My experience has been that we have different organizations that we work with and that I work with personally. And so I give them a heads up of a client that I've been working with. And I put I help to give and exchange contact information, give a little bit of a profile of the company, and they're able to get out a quote relatively quickly. And so it helps fill that gap of how much is that going to cost me. And it does depend on how, again, the size of the company, how many days the certifying auditing company will have to spend with that organization, along with the specific ISO codes and the many different clauses. Mm-hmm. So it's really kind of hard to know exactly. So that's why I try not to get involved in that process. I just say, it's estimated at X amount per day and depends on how many days are needed.
Yeah. What's most important is finding a company whose consultants, or the auditors in this case, the individuals are registered, right? So IRCA is International Registry of Certified Auditors. Like I know the company that we work with a lot is QAS International, and all of their consultants are IRCA certified auditors. That's what's important. You want the person doing the audit to have that certification in hand and the industry experience, so that you're getting the best audit that you can get. They're not in there trying to ding you. They're in there trying to make sure that what you say is what you do, and you have everything documented, and you have all the things in place that you say you have in place.
And I like working with QS. They're very professional.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, just wanted to say actually having that outside validation too is really important. I recently had a chance to compare ISO 27001 to CMMC, for example, right? And I think one of the big things, and it all depends on what the point is of the framework, right? But not having something that's self-attested, having somebody that actually from the outside comes in and grades our work, so to say, is actually really important, and I think it instills more trust.
So I want to just address. We just had a comment or a question. Are ISO standards compulsory? That's an interesting question. Generally speaking, no, unless you're in certain industries or unless your client says they are, right? So it's very much client driven. I'll give you an anecdote. My previous job, I was in sales for a PPE manufacturer, and they are still ISO certified. And when I ran into my old boss, the president of the company, at a trade show, and I told him what I was doing now, he was very happy for me. He said, "Good, great, because ISO is the right way to do business." And I said, "Can I quote you on that?" He goes, "Absolutely." So no, it's not compulsory, but it is a great way to do business, and it's a great way to differentiate yourself from your competitors. So if your clients aren't demanding it, it is still a really good way to get a leg up on your competitors and to prove to your clients that you have a documented quality management system in place, or information security management or environmental management, whichever standard that you're looking at.
That's a very valid and exceptional point, Jay, because of the fact that it documents your process. So if you have to prove to your investors or your board that you are taking the highest level of safety precautions that are necessary for what your firm does, that is exactly why you would want to have the ISO certification. And then I always say, with our Harvard studies, they actually have proven for every $1 that you spend in this category, you see a minimum of a $6 to $16 return on investment to that $1. So that means by having that ISO 9001 or 14001, 27001 certified stamp on your website, it makes you money. And I could tell you, having owned my own business for 19 years, I only wanted to do business with the highest level of quality of companies. And that meant for me, I'm going to have the less RMA numbers to have to worry about. I don't have to worry about as many angry customers because the product was faulty. There's a lot that's involved in why it's so important to have that stamp on your website. And I always say, when you don't have that stamp on your website, you do get passed up.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are companies that are looking to do business with, especially for contracting, for private label, whatnot. But without that ISO stamp, you are getting passed up, and it's by business that you will never know that you lost because they never contacted you.
Right. You never even know who's not calling you, because if you're not already ISO certified. Now, let me ask you this. Tie it back into the topic of the day. What about if a company says, well, I'm going to be ISO compliant? Why do I need to get certified? I'm doing everything it says to do. Why do I need to get audited and certified every year?
Okay.
I think it's just whenever you are certified and whenever you have your regular audits and the things that you have to do, it just, as everybody was saying, if you have the stamp, if you have the quality assurance, it's like when you have people come in from the outside and look at it, but it's just like going through the entire process that a lot of times people start this, and you were saying earlier, at different times. And I try and get people to start this as early as possible. It's like if you're starting a business and you're just one person, start it now and make sure that you get certified and do it through to the end and continue to follow up on it. Because as Pam was saying, it's like whenever people don't know why they got looked over, and that's the hardest thing to explain to somebody. It's why you got looked over. It's just like somebody goes in, they're looking down log, and they just pass you over. They don't even think about it. They're just like, oh, who's ISO certified, who's not, because they want to find where's the quality and where's the consistency. And that is a stamp of approval, and that shows that you have the quality and you have the consistency.
Right. Every purchasing
Anthony is
manager in the
absolutely
world,
right.
every purchasing manager in the world knows the difference between compliant and certified. And when you say you're compliant, you're like, trust me, I'm doing the right thing. Versus I'm certified, here's the proof. Right?
That's
Absolutely. Although
If anyone can say they're compliant, and if anyone can say it, doesn't mean a thing.
Right.
Yeah. Although the ISO does allow for self-certification, and you can do it, Jay, you're right. It looks much better if someone independently comes in, assesses your system, and says, okay, this is a fully operational, well-designed system that works. And this is what purchase managers want to see.
Yep. Someone's asking, what's the minimum number of employees? I think we answered that one already. There is no minimum.
Now, it could be, as Jay says, one person or a multinational company. Every single organization may easily benefit from the ISO standards.
Yeah. And one of the things about that I would say is when we're saying earlier, it's like how you get started. I've done several one-person companies, and they've blossomed. And a lot of times people that do get certified that are a one-person company, the reason they get certified as a one-person company is because they left the company that was certified. But other people don't know that, and they don't understand the value. So the people that I've done, they've left and they were like, oh, I was in that business. I left to start my own business. And the first thing you have to do is be ISO certified. Because it's all too often I see these people and they're like, they have 13 people in their company, or they have 800 people in their company, and they don't even have an SOP. So it's like, we can put all that in place for you. We can get everything done. We can help you to get on your way.
If I might jump in just to make a tiny comment, please be aware that we're talking to one-person company. Freelancers can't get certified. So just to make sure that there is that clear idea between one-person company and freelance. When we freelance, we can't get ISO certified. We need to be a company, a legal entity. Okay.
Individuals can be trained as internal auditors. That's a different topic. But yes, individuals cannot be ISO certified. It's a company, LLC or whatever.
Yeah. Another question that a lot of people and a lot of organizations ask is, do I need to look for both a consultancy and certification body? The nice point is with IMSM, we have it together. So it's nice to where, and I always say, once you come on board as a client of IMSM's, you never have to worry about, oh, do I have to contact IMSM to schedule my annual certification audit with QAS? And the answer to that is no, because our company, IMSM, through our corporate headquarters in the UK, you're in our system, and 30 to 45 days prior to every year, your annual expiration date, they will contact you and schedule that for you. So I always say that we offer a nice turnkey package that's complete, but that's customized for every organization and firm.
Yeah, we take care of that.
Yeah.
From the UK, we manage quite efficiently this relationship. Well, by the way, I have a question here. How do I know what ISO my business needs? I think that Jen Pamela quite introduced the topic at the beginning with the gap analysis. Shall we again explain the starting point, please?
Go for it, Maria, since you are one of our top auditors.
Okay, thank you, Pamela. So again, we work close with our customers and help them assess their circumstances and situation. So we can easily talk to you and identify your needs. We're very transparent and we also apply good practice. So we'll tell you exactly what we think you need, discuss with you, go through a gap analysis at the moment you decide to go with, and identify all the work that is needed for you to implement a fully operational system, maintain it, and continually improve it as well. On top of that, we'll manage to make our recommendations with regards to the best way to get it certified. So, trust us. We know how to identify your needs and requirements with regards to your ISO related coverage.
If I could add something too, Maria, what's also helpful is actually doing multiple ISO standards for implementation and certification at the same time. And so a lot of companies that I talked to, in fact, one just yesterday, who has highly classified information that's international, and their clientele is highly classified. But I was talking to them about 9001. And so at the very end of the conversation, I said, you know, I'm looking at your website and you have highly classified information and your company does billions of dollars of revenue every year, that it would be very costly if you had a cybersecurity attack. Have you ever considered ISO 27001? And they're like, well, not really, but we do have systems in place to protect us. And I went through how, you know, ISO 27001 information safety and security management is the highest level of international standardized operations and recognized so as the highest international protection that you could put in place. So therefore, at the end of the day, he did email me after I sent him information about that, about 27001, asking for a proposal and doing both at once. And the reason why it does make sense for a company to do two or three ISOs at once is it saves their company resources. So if you're looking at like 3 or 4 people that are going to be working with one of our assessors, with one lead person working with our assessor, time is money. And if you're having those 3 or 4 employees doing, let's say 9001 now and 27001 January of 2023 or December of 2022, you could be saving yourself a lot of money and time and effort. So it is really wise to do a couple at one time.
Yeah.
Oh, totally agree.
And they build on each other, right? Everything's based on that 9001 platform, the Annex SL, right?
Good point, Jay.
The high level structure allows for different standards to be either implemented in parallel or integrated, and that's a great idea to do.
Yep.
Wow,
We did. We also addressed the startup question earlier. And then, do I need to look for both a consultancy and a certification body? Nope, we're one-stop shopping.
Well, this is a very interesting question, by the way, because, you know, sometimes organizations start with looking for the correct, most appropriate consultancy to help them out with implementation, and they need to have a look at a certification body aside. Some organizations do it. Do quite the opposite. Start with the certification body and then have to look for someone to help them implement it. With IMSM, we've already addressed it. If you work with us, we'll assess your needs in terms of implementation and we'll suggest the best way to certify your system with a trusted partner of ours,
Right.
depending on what you need to achieve, depending on your objectives, targets.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Our
that's
consultants know what the auditors are looking for. Very much so. And they work very closely together for many, many years.
Yes, and Jay, that's a great point, because I always tell my clients that our assessors prep you for your certification audit. So there's confidence. They
Yeah.
walk into that audit having confidence that they are prepared and have what's needed to pass their certification audit. Good point, Jay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What Nero had said earlier is I've set in on a number of the different audits, and I sit on it just to get an idea of like what different people do. And to see, like, you can see when we talk about being ISO and ISO certified and stuff like that, you want to see the consistency also with the certifiers. So I sit in for a day or two, and every time a different assessor comes, I always meet them and introduce them to the people, take them to like whatever the client is at. And then I just stay for the day and see what's going on, how they do their process. But that helps to also just give the feedback to any new clients or any new potentials about how we work and how the process works, so that they know what to expect. Because I sat down and I sat with Paul or Richard or any one of the assessors and just said, hey, and we went through all the steps together.
Yeah, our statisticians, our salespeople are really very experienced and motivated. So, as Anthony says, everyone does everything to help the customers out in these processes, because they're complex and they're challenging, and we need to make those processes seem smoother, easier, and be smoother and easier. So we do our best.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's almost half an hour. Shall we?
We did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I could just,
I was ready.
if I could just tell everybody that's viewing this video, contact IMSM.com. We could definitely give you some information over the phone or via email, provide proposals, and just kind of, walk you through the process. And at times we can have one of our assessor/auditors on a Teams call with us and a client to be able to explain the process and how it's not as daunting as they think they might, have to walk through. But IMSM.com, and we thank you for your time, and we hope to hear from you very soon. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Everyone. See you soon. Bye. Caroline, can you say cover now?